Hello everyone, Jester Bell is back with a review for the latest movie that I just saw in the theater, A Quiet Place 2. It's crazy to think about this movie because I wanted to see it March of last year, and that was the first movie that was taken away in the pandemic, and it's not the first movie I've seen since theaters started opening up again, but it's the first movie I've really been excited about. It's the first new movie. A lot of you might have watched my review for Godzilla vs. Kong when I went back to the theater. I did the video there. I did not like Godzilla vs. Kong. I just wanted to go to the theater. But what a difference it makes to go see a movie you're actually invested in and that you're actually interested in. Now, the Quiet Place movies. Now, A Quiet Place is one of those movies that I really, really, really like, even though I acknowledge the flaws with it. A lot of people, A Quiet Place is one of those movies where the directing and the acting and everything around it is excellent. When people start to pick apart the screenplay, though, and find all the plot holes, then you see it working a little less well. But it's one of those movies where I think that the other elements elevate themselves enough, where even though there's some plot holes that really, 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 really annoy me, like the fact that they didn't think that sound would obviously be something to combat creatures that are so sensitive to sound, I still like it. And so, just on a subjective level, I was excited to go see this movie. So, it's a franchise that a lot of people like, even though a lot of people have criticisms with it. So, how was the sequel? Well, the sequel, I would say that it keeps all the strengths of the original movie, and it keeps all of the weaknesses. And sometimes I think the weaknesses get amplified a little bit. So, what I would say is really good about it is I really think the directing is well done. I love the way the movie looks, and I love all the acting. I just love, what I love about these movies, and I think really works, is the family dynamic. And it depicts a rural family, and I grew up with a rural family. And so I really get the relatability there between the mom, who's very much the caretaker and very, she knows how to use her weapons. She knows how to do all these different things that a rural mom would know. Like, it's like a homeschool mom. My mom homeschooled me. It's like that kind of mother who would know how to do all those things and know how to take care of her family on so many different levels. And you've got the brother-sister dynamic going on, which, I think that the cast all has great chemistry. You've got the lead-out from the first movie where it really showed how the daughter, Reagan, the deaf daughter, not mute, deaf, it really showed how I like the subtlety showing her connection to her father, how she chose to ride with him home in the beginning, where it shows them first escaping from the aliens. I like that little thing to show how deep their emotional connection was, and how she chose to drive home with him in the beginning. We see how she's most upset because of how he might feel about her in the first movie, and in this movie she's trying to be like him and trying to do what he would do. So I liked how they set up that connection. I thought that was really well done. So as I mentioned, the movie opens with a flashback of when the creatures first came to Earth, and that was my favorite part of the movie. I liked how it showed how everyone was before that happened, and how everyone came to find out that they attack for sound. And then the movie goes back where we left off, and so we basically get them traveling back to town, and they meet an old friend. And it's that old friend kind of coming out of his sort of misery over what's happened and trying to basically become a part of their family, I'd say. He kind of becomes the character who kind of forms a connection with the daughter. The daughter is kind of following in the footsteps of her father, and how she wants to be the one to save everyone and keep reaching out, and she kind of brings him, who's played by Cillian Murphy, who's also the Scarecrow. She brings him, this old family friend, kind of out of the depths and back to trying to fight these creatures, and back trying to survive and help other people. And I was amazed that they had really good. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. They had really good chemistry as characters, and I was invested. I was following them. And by the way, the girl, I think Millicent, I don't know her last name, but her first name is Millicent, and she plays the mute girl. She's a really good actress, and I really enjoyed watching her. I think that all the actors did a good job in this movie. So, and I mentioned cinematography. I love the way this movie looked. There were times in the movie where it reminded me more of a horror movie from the 80s. And I love 80s horror, so I really liked that. And I love how the movie is focused on the characters and story, and not so much jump scares and gore and all that. I think that's why this movie is doing so well at the box office. It's a horror movie that anyone can watch, anyone can connect with. But let's get on to the flaws, because I do think that this movie has more flaws than the first movie. So, the main thing that stood out to me is that, yes, there are plot holes and there are things that aren't explained. One thing that really bothered me was the creatures. It's not really clear what they're even doing. Are they just killing machines? In the first movie, it implied that they hunt their prey based on sound, kill them, and if they've caught an actual prey, then they will eat them. In this movie, we just see the creatures kind of going and hitting people left and right and killing them, and it just made them look like killing machines who have no other purpose than to kill, which doesn't make sense to me, and that was never clarified. There's a scene in the movie where there's a big field of people and you just see it, hitting people left and right. And that I'm like, okay, aren't they supposed to eat them? Why are they just, swatting at people? What's the point? And there's also a moment in the movie where they get captured. Cillian Murphy and Millicent, who plays the little girl, they get captured by these people in like kind of a sound trap, and they really seem like they're gonna do something to the little girl. I don't know, make her a sacrifice? I don't know what they were going to do. It was really confusing, and they never explained who those people were exactly. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I could get it on a second watch. But that's the biggest plot hole in the movie. There's also there's some dumb stuff. Like there's this guy. They meet an encampment of people who have been able to survive because they found an island that the creatures weren't on, and the creatures can't swim. So there's an encampment of people, and they meet this guy who seems like the really tough leader who can really lead them. And he's set up as this really tough leader, and then a couple scenes later, he's killed off in the stupidest way possible because he just starts panicking, and he's killed because he starts to panic. And I'm like, that seems really forced and really cheesy, which brings me to my last criticism of the movie. It gets more cheesy. The people think that the first one would get cheesy at moments. This would really get cheesy, especially by the end. Where they show the kids stepping up and being able to take out these monsters now. It was really cheesily done. I think some people will really like that, but it won't fly for some people. I thought that they just went a little too far with that, and it was too sappy. And the movie, very short. It was about an hour and a half like the first one. So there's kind of the abruptness like the first movie as well, where it's like, oh, it's done. The movie's done, and there's probably going to be a third part. And I'll watch a third part, again, it's one of those movie series where despite all the flaws, there's still some strength to it, where it makes it entertaining and interesting to watch. It's one of those series I can watch despite all the flaws that it has. So I would recommend going. It's a perfect movie to get you to go back into the theater. It's not too gory. It's a decent enough, if you're just watching it, like if you're not really scrutinizing it, it's a decent enough watch. I was entertained by it. I would give it a 6 to a 7 out of 10. I'll go 6.5. I have to take it down notches because of those flaws. 6 to a 7, 6.5. I would recommend going watch it. Just be prepared that there are flaws. It's not a perfect movie. I'm really glad that it's doing so successfully though, and that this was the movie to bring people back to the theater. Good on John Krasinski. Go see A Quiet Place 2. I will see the sequel when it finally comes out, and I will see you guys next time with more reviews, reactions, and short films and skits. Be sure to like and subscribe for more than that, and follow me on Twitter at Teresa Campagna or at Jesterbell Films now. I'm also on TikTok at Neon Puffball. Links will be in the description, and I'll see you next time.